All right. Looks like we're all in our seats. We've got our cameras on. So let's go ahead. There's Tammy. Hi, Tammy. How are you?
I am doing good.
Great. Great. Well, go ahead and let's do our exit conference.
Okay, let me share my screen for the PowerPoint, and then I will let Amy Strucka, who is our audit manager, begin. Hold on one moment.
Perfect. Thanks, Tammy. And thank all of you for the opportunity for us to be here today to share the results of the county's accountability audit. As Tammy said, my name's Amy Stralka. I'm the audit manager for the Port Orchard audit team, and then Tammy was the lead for this year's audit. Before we get started moving through the presentation, we do want to note that this is an overall summary of the audit results. So to supplement the presentation, we've given you a packet. Hopefully you all got a copy of that packet that includes the exit conference document, drafts of the audit reports we're going to be issuing, and some other information. So as we move through the presentation, we'll be referencing where you can find more information in the packet, but we'll give you all the key points here. Let's get started. Whether you're new to the audit process or if you've been through many audits in the past, understanding the audit results is always very important to establishing and maintaining good government. This is true for a few different reasons. First of all, audits can really help build trust in your organization because they can let you know whether things are working or whether there's areas that might need some fine tuning. And they can shine a light on areas that are important to your citizens, to external stakeholders, and to your own employees. The State Auditor's Office is an independent organization. We're responsible for auditing all the state and local governments in Washington, and we actually conduct about 2,600 audits every year. Our audit reports get published on our website, so as such, our audits can be relied upon to provide transparent results directly to citizens. And then lastly, a really important role of audits is just their ability to identify areas where efficiency can be improved or where you can be more effective in complying with various requirements. And then on the flip side of that, they can also tell you where you're already working efficiently and effectively. So the goal of our meeting today is just to make sure you understand the audit results and give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. So I will turn it over to Tammy to talk about the details.
Thank you, Amy. Our exit today is going to cover the accountability audit results. The accountability audit covered a 2-year period. So this would be January 1st of 2021 through December 31st of 2022. And we determined in our testing that in most of the areas examined, the operations complied with applicable state laws, regulations, the county's own policies to ensure safeguarding of resources. This information in the report is actually on page 3 of the packet, and it will have the language in there as to that information. We used a risk-based approach in planning our audit, and as there are a lot of different areas listed here, I'll go through each one and kind of let you know what we looked at and what we determined in the areas. For accounts payable, we looked at credit cards. Specifically in this area, we did test approximately 60,000 transactions in 2021 and then 60,000 in 2022. These were both Amazon and US Bank transactions. We determined that all of the transactions were supported, approved, and had a public purpose. So there were no exceptions in that area. For electronic funds transfer, we did have an exception in this area, and I will review that when we go further on in through the PowerPoint when we discuss this. For the clerk's office general disbursements, we actually tested specific disbursements for the clerk's office, which totaled $84,000. And we found that all of those transactions were supported and approved and served a public purpose. For procurement, we look specifically for purchasing exceptions. These are purchases that maybe were a sole source. They could have been an emergency declaration or potentially a special market condition. And we actually had selected 5 different purchase exceptions, which was an asphalt compactor, 2 UV lamp purchases, blower repair, and screen rebuild. And we determined that the county had supported for the purchase exceptions as required per policy and RCW, and all other additional procurement requirements were followed. So there was no exceptions in this area. Restricted funds, we looked at specifically county roads and building permits. The revenues from these sources are very restricted as to the use for the expenditures. And for 2021 and 2022, we tested 417,000 for roads and 115,000 for building permits. And we determined that all of the expenditures met with the requirements for use as per using restricted funds. Cash receipting, we looked at 3 separate offices. We looked at the treasurer's office as well as the clerk's office and solid waste. The treasurer's office, we tested specific receipting for April and October of 2022. And this actually totaled 25 million in April and 31.4 million in October. We determined the receipts were properly receipted, posted, as well as deposited timely. For the clerk's office, we actually tested transactions in 2021, 2022, and 2023. We found of all of the receipting in the area timing selected that they were properly receipted, posted, and deposited timely. For solid waste, public works, we actually have a audit exception in this area, so we will discuss this when we get to that. Self-insurance for unemployment is an area that we're required to look at per RCW every 2 years. And because this is a 2-year audit, we did the required testing for this, which it includes proper set aside and planning for claims that come through, and ensuring the controls over the claims is ensuring safeguarding of resources, and we found no exceptions in this area. We also tested open public meetings and financial condition. As part of our planning of the audit, we take a lot of credit for what we do in these areas, and we found no exceptions in these 2 areas as well. As I said, we're going to go through the 2 audit issues that we had. The first one is for cash receipting specific for solid waste. This was up to a finding level, which means the information is included in our report, as well as the county's response is also included in the report. You can see the information on page 8 of the exit packet. What this specific finding is discussing is the cash receipting that we tested for fiscal year 2022 for the landfill. We reviewed September of 2022, a 2-week period, as well as October 2022. While we determined that most of the receipting was complete and deposited timely, we found that there was no overall reconciliation to determine that all the funds receipted at all 3 landfill stations were properly posted and deposited with the bank. This was a finding that is attached to a loss that was previously reported. That information is included in the finding. The next area we have is a management letter, and this is regarding external cyber loss and electronic funds transfers. As most people are aware, there have been an uptick in cyber crimes throughout the country. And with that, we have recommendations that the county should have a policy to cover these sorts of transactions. We determined in our testing that there is no policy, as well as there was a loss related to controls being bypassed with this. And this was resulted in a loss for the county. And the information is included in our management letter. It was a loss of approximately $3,122, which was done by a fraudulent bank account. So with this, we have our recommendations, which is to develop policies to ensure that all employees understand the processes to go through to ensure that those electronic transactions are safeguarded. I wanted to take a moment to thank everybody who helped throughout the audit. I know that the accountability audit covered a lot of different areas. We covered a lot of transactions, and it did take a little bit more time than usual to get through everything. We also wanted to acknowledge the county's efforts in improving the financial condition for Belfair Sewer and Russell Water. This has been a long-term area that the county has been covering, and we haven't found, as noted earlier, with financial condition that there's no areas of concern. So we definitely wanted to thank Public Works and all of the county for their follow-up on that. I also wanted to take a moment to thank Leo for his coordination with everything as we're working with different departments, whether it's the clerk's office, the treasurer's office, and Public Works. He's always able to be there to coordinate for me, and that is really appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amy for some closing remarks.
All right, so I'm pleased to report our audit costs are going to be within our original estimate. Next audit's going to be summer 2023. We'll start it. This year we had a 2-year accountability audit, so we were playing some catch up from all the grant work we had to do during COVID. So we were looking at fiscal years 21 and 22 this year, but starting next year, you'll be back to your normal annual cycle. So we'll just be doing a 1-year accountability audit for fiscal year 23, and then financial statement federal program audit. There's an estimated cost for that audit in our exit packet. And then next slide, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, our audit reports get published on our website. I would anticipate that your report will publish on Monday the 18th. Leo will automatically get a notification email when that report publishes, so you'll know when it goes out. But 10 a.m. Monday is when I anticipate it'll go out. At the time that report publishes, Leo will also get a link to an audit survey. And Leo, you can forward that to anyone at the county that was part of the audit. I know there was a lot of people involved. So anyone that wants to provide feedback, we always really appreciate when folks take the time to fill that out, because we're always trying to improve our processes too. So thanks in advance to anyone that fills that out. And then are there any questions from anyone at the county before we wrap up?
Commissioners, any questions?
No questions, just a word of appreciation for all of your support throughout the process, and just look forward to seeing you all next year.
Yes.
Yeah, I would ditto those remarks also. It's good to know that our sewers are not being highlighted anymore. So yay Public Works on, and I know that we're working hard to make sure that things are very compliant. So we do appreciate you guys and appreciate all of our staff that helped with this process too. Yeah, that definitely with the sewers, I know that was like
it's not a thing that you fix overnight. So it's definitely a process, and it's a difficult process. So it's real impressive that you've gotten there. And I also wanted to point out, I know, sometimes we go through the areas and we say no exceptions here, and then we focus on the areas where we have recommendations, obviously. But the fact that with procurement exemptions, like that is something that almost always when we look at purchasing exemptions, there's pieces that get missed because those are really tricky and rare to be able to be used properly. So the fact that we looked at several different procurement exemption types, and all of them, you did them right, and that's really something to be proud of too, because it's not easy to do. So
We do have amazing people here.
yeah, doing a great job.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
All right,
else?
Commissioners, or anyone have any questions for the SAO?
I just wanted to thank SAO for everything that they do, and it's a lot of appreciation and thanks.
Thank you.
This is Lisa Frazier, the County Treasurer. I just wanted to say it was a pleasure to work with Tammy and Amy as well in providing them information. I would also note that the first draft of the EFT policy has been given to the Audit Committee. And so we are working on that and hope to have it approved in January. So I'll make sure you get a copy of that when we're through with it.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you all so much then, and we will see you next summer.
All right, great. Happy holidays.
Thanks, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
All right, well, I see Patty, so let's go ahead with Superior Court.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have two, hopefully very quick items. The first is a employment contract with Tersa Butler as our full-time court commissioner, and hat tip to Mackenzie for pointing out that the current contract was pointing out to me that the current contract was about to expire. It is not clear to me why we have an employment contract with the court commissioner, but we do. This is merely an extension of that employment contract for another year. It is the only things that have changed here are the dates and the pay rate. And I did change it from having all three commissioners sign it to having just the chair sign it, because nobody knows why we do this.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for Patty?
No questions, but Patty, maybe a good opportunity to really rethink how we do it if you're not finding any reasonable support for why we've always done it this way.
Before we do this again, I promise that I will find out why, and including reaching out to my counterparts around the state to see if this is a normal thing. But it doesn't appear to be, at least within Mason County.
I feel like we've kind of talked around the edges of this conversation in the past and have settled on we've always done it this way. So I'm happy to have you take that mantle up.
Yep. I've never liked that answer, but time was short when this came to me a couple weeks ago, and so but before we do it again, I'll figure that out. Unless there's any, so this we need to go on the regular agenda next week.
On the 19th.
Correct.
Okay.
The next item is a contract extension with Thomson Reuters for Westlaw in the law library. This is a 5-year contract. We're required to have a law library, and this is the cheapest and easiest way to do it. It's a 2% inflation factor or cost inflation factor over the term, the 5-year term. This is within our budget, and we need to do it.
Madam Chair, we need to give some special thanks. It wasn't just an acceptance of a contract. There was work that went into this. Historically, several years ago, they tried to increase it by 7 to 10% at the time. So being able to re-up it at 2% is work well done on their behalf.
All right, sounds great.
I am supportive.
And so you will want this on the 19th as well.
Correct.
All righty. Sounds
That's
good.
it for me.
Easy peasy.
Thank you, commissioners. Happy holidays.
Thanks. You too.
Merry Christmas.
All right, let's move on to the sheriff's office. There's Travis and our sheriff. How are you?
I think Kevin's supposed to be on there somewhere.
I'm not seeing him.
Well, that's not good.
A little bit ahead of schedule, but
Yeah, that is true. Here, let me call him real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, he was going by the strict time, so he's logging in right now and be ready to go.
All right, perfect. That works. Well, you want to just shoot the breeze until he gets here?
Sure. Pick a topic. Seahawks did not do well yesterday.
Oh, I thought they did great.
Oh, we
I'm
didn't
a
watch the same game.
Yeah, Niner fan.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
Log that one.
You won that one. I'll give it to you, Commissioner.
Thanks.
There he is.
All right, Chief Hanson, you're up.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Do you have a camera, Kevin?
Yeah, hold on a second. There, now you can see me.
Oh, that's better.
There. All right, so let's do the easy one first. Let's talk about the Lewis County jail contract renewal. It looks like Lewis County's upped the rates by like $2 and some odd cents per day. We have not utilized any Lewis County beds, but if you remember right, last summer when I asked the commission to approve the housing contract, we did it just so that we have it on record there and we have a place to take people if we need to. So we don't anticipate using them. Last time I talked to them, I know that they're in a similar predicament as we are as far as not having enough staff and they're on booking restrictions. So I'm not sure that they'd house our inmates even if we asked at this juncture. Which one do you want to go to next?
Well, let's stay on that one. Let's go ahead and approve to put that one on the agenda because no matter what, even if we don't use it, it's nice to have an extra basket to the side.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, agreed. Commissioner Shute.
All good.
Do you want to talk about the healthcare contract? Let's do that one next. Okay, so last summer, I had briefed on the proposed renewal of the healthcare contract with healthcare delivery systems. And I think the commission had asked about going out to bid and whether or not we had to go out to bid, and you wanted to seek some information from legal counsel. I had gotten a hold of prosecutor Whitehead, and he looked at the contract and said there was no need to go out to bid lawfully or as far as legally, there was no need to go out to bid. So if you remember right, I did a little research about what some of the surrounding counties were doing for healthcare. It looks like I got a hold of Olympia City Jail, Cowlitz, Lewis County, Grays Harbor, and Kitsap. And the closest one that came in to close to what we were paying was Grays Harbor. And it looks like they were paying about $890,000 a year for inmate healthcare services. And they were doing it through their own staff. They had hired a contract doctor and a contract nurse that were actually county employees. And it looks like they've actually joined the union now. So anyhow, so that's I've come back with a renewed contract. The current contract expires at the end of the year. And you'll see that this is a 3-year proposal. It looks like the RN wages are all at $85 an hour now. And then they've asked for any increases in 25 and 26 would be comparable, the same as whatever the county non-represented pay grade gets.
Commissioners, any questions?
Was this factored into the budget we just adopted at this rate?
Under sheriff, I think it was. I think Michelle figured it in, didn't she?
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay.
I still always believe we should go out. That's just how I am about this stuff. There's also a huge difference in the population for Grace Harbor in their jails compared to ours. It's almost non-comparable last I checked. But you know, I'm not going to stand against it if we're ready to go, but I do think we need to start reaching out to some of our surrounding people in areas like Peninsula Health and a few others and see if they're able and better equipped to handle this situation here local. But I will not, I will be voting in favor of it come before us.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the last item on my agenda, and that's an update that I had promised about the outsourcing. The last time I updated you was in, I think it was like November. We had just completed October, and it looks like in October we had used about 277 prisoner days. November, we have used 558 prisoner days, which averages about 18 inmates a day at Nisqually. Our population has maintained the mid-20s in the jail. It's dropped a couple times. The population at Nisqually has fluctuated anywhere between 15 and 20. And so the hiring, we've hired 4 corrections deputies, one of which I think is going back to Thurston County, and 1 CSO. Since we talked in October, we have 3. Well, if that deputy goes back to Thurston County, then we'll have 4 vacancies again in corrections deputies. And we've interviewed, I think we interviewed 4 people last week, and I think we have 3 conditional, or not conditionals, but background investigations going on right now to fill those 4 positions. Whether or not they make it through the background, I don't know. Only time will tell. I think that's it. It looks like the budget impact for November is about $72,540. And I believe when we asked you guys to support this outsourcing, we estimated about $80,000 a month, and we anticipate it lasting until about February. I'm not so certain that February is going to be achievable, only because of training. The corrections deputy that we signed up to go to the academy is not scheduled to go down until October of next year. So that doesn't help us a whole lot. The CSOs, fortunately, don't have to go to the academy, so that their training period is quite a bit shorter, and we can put them into the rotation and count them as a minimum staffing on a much shorter notice or much shorter timeline. So questions?
So I do have one. With the outsourcing, have we lowered or have you guys lowered the booking restrictions?
No.
Why is that?
Well, so do you remember when we went to outsourcing, one of the ploys is I had to reduce our minimum staffing levels. So during daytime, we went from 4 people on duty to 3. And to mitigate that workload, we sent the people over to Nisqually. So The other thing is that when I sold this project to you guys, I sold it to you as a 20 inmates per day on an average. So that because I think you guys wanted to make sure that you wanted to make sure that you knew what you were facing and that you wouldn't have unanticipated budgetary hits with outsourcing 20, 30, 40 people at a time. And I think that when I asked you to fund this, it was about $80,000 a month at the most, which is about 20 inmates. So we've managed to keep right about that $80,000 a month or less. And the population at the jail has ranged anywhere between 17 and 31 inmates since we've been outsourcing. So when we talked about the outsourcing originally, we had talked about Nisqually being an overflow facility for us. So when the population became too high at the jail, we would send people over to Nisqually, and then when the population dropped, we'd bring people back. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do. What we've been trying to manage is a population in the jail with a minimum staff of 3 people, and that doesn't allow for the misdemeanor arrests that are prohibited under booking restrictions.
Chief, what is the maximum with the 3 staffing that you could have in there?
We set that number at 27. And the reason I said 27 is because when we started the outsourcing, we shipped 20 that week over to Nisqually. That left us with 27 here. And that's, I think, what I told you guys when we created the plan altogether.
No, and I understand that that's what you set the number on, but is that what our maximum is that we could handle or should be doing in there safely? That's was more my question, because you can set the number whatever you want. I kind of want the science behind it. Or
well, I don't know that I can say the 27 or 31 or 35 is the maximum. We've set the cap at the cap, if you want to call it a cap, at 27. We've been at 31 since we started outsourcing in our jail, and with 3 people here, sometimes it's not manageable. I've been having to go on transports, and I've gone out to Western State Hospital, pick people up. I've been to the prison myself, and that's not part of the 3 staff. I get called upon because there's nobody else to work. So, there's really no science behind it. It's the amount of work that either gets done or doesn't get done. And I can tell you that when we have 30 people in here, work doesn't get done with 3 people. You got 1 in the control room and 2 people on the floor. And you got to get people to court, and you got to get them their food, and you got to get them to medical, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's not a good situation either way, any way around. So
with your cap, we can handle 47 on a regular daily
with outsourcing. Yeah. Want to try to manage about 27 to 30 here, and then I think you guys agreed to about 20 at Nisqually. That's what we sold you.
Commissioner Trask.
Yes.
Was there something you were concerned about when you asked that question? Because again, we didn't want to overstep what you guys approved and go back to what we had years ago where we spent so much money on outsourcing. We wanted to be responsible with that. Was there something you were thinking of?
Yeah, you and I went on that little walking tour along the tracks, and then I've heard some other stories about things happening where I just think that a lot of the regulars know that we're not probably going to put them in jail, and I don't want that message to be out there. I would like for people to know that we our jail is in business, and our deputies they're all amazing, and they're all doing a great job. But I kind of feel like there's a message between some of the some individuals out there that spread it around that we're not we're a good place where you can go and snag a backpack.
That didn't
Or
work too well for him this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just want our people to know that they're safe and that we're doing what we can. And so that was the purpose of that question. I want to know that people are, well, gosh, one of the vehicles out at Mason Transit had exempt plates on it, and it was a motorhome. And so I'm sure they weren't supposed to be exempt, but they had them. So I'm just trying to figure out ways that we can let people know that type of behavior is not acceptable in Mason County.
Yeah, hopefully this whole thing's just short-lived, you know. I mean, if we can get our staff hired and trained and we can, you know, get the staffing back over here to what it's supposed to be, we can stop outsourcing and we can increase our population back up to, you know, the 60 it was before we started this whole thing here this fall. So, you know, I mean, that's the end game, is that this is just a temporary thing. And you know, we want to put people in jail just as bad, or well, not us put them in jail, but we want to have people in jail just as bad as you want them put in jail, because we know that's what our purpose is. So
On book and release, does it take a corrections officer to handle that?
Yeah, because we have to search them to come in.
I get it. I thought it did. I just wanted to actually hear it, so it's not just my opinion.
Yeah.
I definitely think we need to be doing a lot more than that, but you can't if you still got to take one off of the floor to do it. There's no way to do that either. So
unless you did it remotely somehow, we didn't actually bring them to the jail.
Can we look at those options? I don't know what that looks like. I have no idea, but I definitely would be nice, because then they'll get their court dates and everything else. But right now we can't afford to even if we can't handle them inside the jail, we can't afford to take one off of the floor and leave somebody unprotected down there to do a book and release. But I'd sure love to find a way to do that if it's possible, because that goes right to what Commissioner Trask is talking about. So we can make sure that we have them in the cycle and they are at least going to court and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask maybe to put maybe a finer point, Commissioner Trask, on what you were saying, but you know, this might be maybe more for sheriff or undersheriff, focusing on the patrol side. What does that look like in terms of the discretion that patrol deputies have, or what the decision-making process looks like when they contact someone out in the field and have to make a determination on whether or not that's somebody that they're going to take to jail or can't take to jail? What does the process look like?
Well, for the most part, they've got a great deal of discretion for most of the criminal activity that they come across. We do have a number of crimes that are mandatory arrests that have to do with domestic violence, court orders, some of those type of things that we do take in regardless, because there's no discretion. But the deputies will make field assessments based on medical condition. Maybe we don't want to bring them to the jail because they've got significant medical issues and it doesn't warrant a mandatory arrest, which would end up costing the county a large amount of money for taking care of them medically. Or they may not fit within the booking restrictions, and they make the determination that they're not going to request to book them with special circumstances. However, the patrol supervisors have been encouraged and have the discretion to call the jail supervisors anytime that they have a special circumstance, or where there's a situation where somebody really needs to be taken out of the situation that they're in and taken to the jail. So the folks over the corrections have made those exceptions on many occasions for us based on what's going on out on the street. And it's just a fluid situation day by day, depending on the circumstance, the type of crime, the victims involved, and a whole host of other factors.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I wonder, I mean, kind of to Chief Hanson's point, I mean, you you've kind of been maintaining the parameters that you said you would when you came to us a couple of months ago on this. I'm just kind of curious as to, looking at this like a dial, if there was somebody in particular that your deputies felt like, hey, might not meet, all of these different criteria or whatever, but is somebody that the community would benefit from having them off the street, at least for a little while. If we didn't hold hard and fast to that 20, if we looked at, what difference would be, between 20 and 25 in terms of, making a difference in some of these cases, I'd be open to some conversation around that. Not where it's necessarily kind of carte blanche, but, in very specific circumstances to give you a little bit additional flexibility there. Just kind of wondering what that, outside of the cost, what difference is really like 20 to 25 in this quality in terms of giving you all a little bit more flexibility on the street.
Yeah, well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. We've been trying very hard to honor the intent of our original discussion, which was the fact that due to the staffing crisis, we needed to reduce the number of people there so that it was safer for our folks and we could reduce the minimum staffing. So, I mean, that was really our intent, and we talked about a certain number for outsourcing and a certain dollar amount, and we've been working really hard to make sure that we honor that, because we're keenly aware of the past on this particular issue. However, there is no doubt that the more beds that are available, the more times that the patrol deputies don't have to exercise discretion that we might not necessarily in normal circumstances want them to exercise. So, the degree to which the county can afford and wants to allow us some flexibility in those numbers, we can certainly use that latitude in order to make a few more discretionary arrests and address the point that Commissioner Trask was talking about, and making it an environment where they don't think that they're going to have a free pass every time that somebody, a deputy, comes out to a call.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily need to have those operational discussions in this venue for obvious reasons, but I would be open to having a discussion about giving you a little bit more flexibility in some of those certain cases.
Sure. And we would love to have that conversation, because certainly, I mean, we've been trying really hard to honor our original agreement, but if we all recognize that a little bit more latitude would provide us a greater ability to enforce the laws in Mason County and make sure that those folks are going to be held accountable, we would love to have that conversation.
I would love that conversation as well.
Perfect. Well, we'll make the arrangements.
Sounds great. All right, commissioners, any further questions for the sheriff or for Chief Hanson?
I want to thank you guys for your support, and and this whole outsourcing thing is, I mean, I honestly don't know what we do if you didn't approve that. So our staff appreciates it, and like I said, we'd be in a real quandary if you hadn't approved that.
All I know, I can speak for myself and probably the other commissioners as well, but we appreciate your staff and all the hard work that they do. It's not easy.
Yeah,
not an easy job, and so, nor are they dealing with the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate them.
All right.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Kell, are you available? Community development. There she is.
Hello, I am here. We just have one item, and that is we've got 2 unfilled spaces on the Planning Advisory Board. So would like to read the news release on December 19th.
Kell, did you get my message that you may have 3?
I did not.
Yeah, I left a message about one of your people.
Oh, okay.
When you get a chance, give me a call. I'll fill you in further.
Sounds good.
So once we do the news release, how do we go out there and spread the word? I mean, word of mouth is great, but are there other ways that we tell people that we've got positions open on committees?
Are you
I mean-
asking me or the other commissioners?
You know,
Oh.
what is your process for you? So we do the news release, and then how do we get, how do we?
I do. So I know there is an interested person who I have not met, but apparently they have attended previous planning commission meetings. And so we'll reach out to them to just let them know that there's going to be 2 or more openings. And then anytime I'm in a group or with anyone, I mention it. So, if I recently talked to the North Mason Rotary, and just mentioning to folks that we have openings.
Okay. I wonder if there's a way to send it out to, I don't know. I guess that's something that we can talk about offline, just to brainstorm and see if we can come up with different ideas to really spread the word about all the commissions or the advisory councils and positions that we all have open, or that are open throughout Mason County too. So maybe we should brainstorm on that one. Mark.
Be happy to.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Kell. So this will be on the 19th.
Yep, I'll be there.
All right, sounds great. Anything for Kell? All right, not seeing anybody say anything or move their mouth or look like they want to talk, so we're good. Thanks, Kell. All right, now we're down to public health.
Good morning, commissioners. So we've got 3 quick things today. So we will start off with Ian.
There you go. If my microphone works. Good morning, commissioners. This is just a FYI that on the 28th of November, we had our Board of Health meeting, and the Board of Health approved extensions and new appointments to the On-Site Sewage Advisory Committee. Shane Maples was appointed to the installer position for a 3-year term. Thad Bamford was extended for an additional 3 years and moved into the O&M specialist position. And then Vladimir Nekrotenko, who is a Mason County Public Health employee, was put for 3 years into the Health Department representative position. For our advisory committee, we currently have 3 other vacancies on that committee. One is a shellfish industry representative, and we've been trying to get them to give us representative for a while. Supposedly they have someone and they're just hashing out who it's going to be. That was the last word I had at our last OSAC meeting. The vacant citizen position has been vacant for a long time, and we have yet to find anyone who is interested. And we've done press releases in the past for that one. And then we have a designer position, which was recently vacated, and we have several designers who have said they're potentially interested, and we're just encouraging them to submit an application. But that's all I got for you.
All right, great. Commissioners, any questions for Ian?
Me.
All right, have a great day.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, moving on to Melissa.
Good morning, commissioners. I've got 2 items for community health. The first item is a contract amendment for Crossroads Housing. We briefed this a few times in the past that Commerce had an additional about $884,000 in emergency housing funds available to continue programs that emerged during COVID. We did an RFP for a little bit over $100,000 remaining in that fund. We received 2 applications in Crossroads Housing. Their proposal was recommended by the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board to be fully funded. So the proposal here is an additional $101,071 to Crossroads Housing, specifically to provide rapid rehousing services for up to about 50 additional clients. So if approved, we'd like that this amendment to go to the action agenda on the 19th.
So Melissa, just so you know, I understand and appreciate that they may uniformly all agree to send it to one specific person, but in the future, I'd like to see some of those and be able to see for myself what the requests are that are out there to keep in mind for future funding, and also to see that it's spread out around the areas and stuff like that. So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of those other applicants when they come in, it'd be appreciated. Because they are an advisory board, unlike other ones like LTAC. LTAC is a different thing that Commissioner Trask sits on. They have recommendations, and the commission actually only has the authority to accept or deny. They don't make any changes to it. This one's different than that. So I'd like to make sure that we're in the loop, please.
Bring those to a future briefing.
Or just send us emails.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that item?
Not for me.
Nope, all good with me.
Okay, thank you. Next item is just for your information, we have the 5-year homeless housing plan by RCW, because we receive funds to do homeless service provider programs in our community. We are required to provide a report every year to the Department of Commerce, which really just kind of gives an update on what the state of homelessness is in our community. So I have attached the annual report as of December of this year. Nothing has really changed. I think we know what the state of homelessness is. We had a higher pit count this year just because we did a little bit more street outreach and actually reached the people who are living out in the encampments and not just in our shelters. And all of our goals are the same. So if you approve this, we would just like to be able to post it on our county website and submit it to the Department of Commerce.
I'm supportive. Again, Melissa, I'd like to ask for you to put together a number for me. I get asked all the time, how much money total do we spend from the state allocated monies, from our monies that we get from filings, etc. What is the total amount that comes through the county that we allocate out? It's a big ask, but
I think we can easily put a table in our report for that.
I just get asked that question all the time, and I because we deal with it in pieces, I don't know that number.
It's a great report, by the way.
But kudos to our staff here. I can't take the credit for it. Todd Parker and Haley Folsch really worked on putting those visuals and gathering all the data for it. Any other questions or comments on the 5-year plan?
No, so does this need to be put on our agenda and then approved that way, or can we just?
That's what I wasn't sure on. Mackenzie was really helpful in helping me track down I don't think in the past we had to move it to an action agenda. But if we want to be really formal and just make sure we cover our bases, I would just need to change my request to have it moved to the 19th.
Commissioners, any solid feelings about moving it or not? I don't know, I kind of feel like if we haven't done it in the past, it's probably not necessary. Otherwise, Diane would jump on here and say,
"Yeah, what are you considering moving exactly?"
Just approving their the 5-year plan.
In a regular meeting, correct?
Right.
So I guess the way I look at it is it's just another opportunity to get it out there in front of the public, since both your briefings and your regular meetings are broadcast.
It also allows the public to comment to us on something they think that is missing or something else like that. So I can see that it'd be beneficial to putting it in there in case anybody would show up, even though nobody probably will.
Commissioner Shirley?
Yeah, fine with me.
Okay. Are we approved to move it to the 19th?
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. All right, commissioners, anything for Dave, or Dave, do you have anything for us?
No, I think that pretty much finishes out this round.
All right, commissioners, anything for Dave?
Me.
All righty.
Okay, well, thank you. Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas, everybody.
Thanks, Dave. See you this afternoon. Oh, Dave, is that meeting in person or?
In person, yep.
Okay, where at?
Oh, if we can just do it at Mark's office, it'd be great.
Hey, Mark. All right, Mark's office it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Loretta.
All right. Morning, commissioners.
Morning.
First
Again.
up, we have our annual news release regarding free recycling of Christmas trees and are asking to be able to put that on the agenda.
Tis the season.
Is the season, yes.
But no tinsel.
No tinsel.
Darn.
Or flocking. We're not.
Best part of the tree.
All right.
Okay. All right, so we've got that. And then next up, commissioners, we have had an interlocal agreement between the city of Bremerton, the port of Bremerton, and Mason County to cooperatively plan for providing sewer service to the southern end of the Puget Sound Industrial Center area. And that agreement expires the end of this year and was renewed last year by a letter amendment between the directors, and which is attached, I believe, for you, along with the original agreement. And so just wanting to chat with commissioners about the value in extending this agreement. And I do believe there is value. There's definitely future planning and conversations to be had. But that is my humble opinion, and certainly want to hear from commissioners about your interest in extending this agreement.
Well, again, I as last time, I disagree. You know, I am the commissioner from up there, and they never fulfilled their original agreement. They never supplied the $1 million as they had talked about. We keep holding this thing alive. We extended it without doing anything or any major changes to it the last time. We need to have a study to find out what we need for our own capacity, for our own usage in North Mason to connect to that before we even have any further conversations about spreading our sewer system that was paid for by the citizens of Mason County into Kitsap County to be our own competition. It was one thing to have this conversation when we had nothing and no ability to pay for it. It's different today. And if we did ever enter into another conversation, we need to decide whether we want to supply it. And if we decide to supply to Kitsap County, we should do it through a complete open public process. So I myself, I see no reason to extend it.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, so I mean, I obviously see no downside to continuing to plan jointly and regionally for these things. This is yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have partners that we talk about. We talk about West Sound Alliance a lot. We talk about Gorse Coalition a lot. We talk about Alliance for a Healthy South Sound. We talk about Hood Canal Coordinating Council, all of these other things that we do to work with partners across the region on all types of projects. And I see this as being along the same lines as that. To Commissioner Netherland's point about the $1 million, they haven't had anything to spend $1 million on. And so I don't know why we would begrudge them that. If these conversations are fruitful and productive about figuring out what is happening regionally, then I think there's value in that. Not for anything that would have no contribution from anybody else. And so I think the best way to figure out what the future looks like is to be jointly planning. And I think the best way to do that is to memorialize it in an ILA.
I think, well, for me, I have no problems with the ILA. I just want to make sure that as we move forward, Mason County is at the top of our list. because that's, that's who we serve. That's, I think originally wasn't the treatment plant, wasn't that built so that we could bring in some of the sewer from Kitsap County? I can't remember for sure, but I know that we've got a lot of future building coming into the Belfair area. And so just making sure that Mason County is at the very top of the list, that we're making sure that we have the capacity for Mason County first before we talk about Bremerton.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the people of North Mason were literally promised over and over again that it was not for Kitsap County, with the belief that the community didn't believe them, that they felt that it was a scam to them, and that it was being built for political reasons to serve Kitsap County as well. But they were promised by the Mason County over and over again that this was built for Mason County only. But we knew better.
Right, and I think that that's the priority, at least for me. And so just knowing that Mason County comes before the city of Bremerton or the port of Bremerton, then I have nothing against the ILA, but just knowing that Mason County's the top.
Is there anything in the ILA that would say that we wouldn't prioritize Mason County?
No, it does not, commissioners, but I would definitely welcome a more in-depth conversation about what it means, top. Does that mean first come, first serve, or make sure that we always have adequate capacity to serve the Belfair UGA? And we don't necessarily have to have that today, but those are things that are running through my mind about just what does that mean specifically, and make sure we're all on the same page on that.
Right. No, that's exactly it. I want to make sure that we have capacity for any future projects that Mason County would have.
Mm-hmm.
The whole purpose of the ILA, though, is to utilize our system, not the other way around. So I don't know why we're pretending even for a second that it's not. That is the reason for the ILA, for them to look at, design, and find ways to utilize the Mason County system. There was never a single discussion of anything going the other way around. So if we don't have the capacity, or we shouldn't be utilizing it, I don't even know why that would even be a conversation at this point. We must take care of our own system first, our own county first. And this is nothing more than just a promise to work with them at the time for them to go forward and try to plan to utilize our system. That's, if you read it, that's exactly what it is. That's all it is.
But the last time it was signed was in 2019.
Yes.
By all of us.
And also just, one of the things I think, if I'm going to find a silver lining in this conversation, is a year or two ago, all I heard was, oh, there's no reason to think about extending our sewer because there's nothing happening and there's no development, there's no growth. And it's just nice to be in the conversation now where we're really talking about, well, what does growth look like in this region? We're seeing development, we're seeing projects. We know that there's massive RFI out from the United States Navy about their projects. And it's just, it's really exciting to be talking about the future in this way. And so there is, yeah, we have an asset that is, I think, beneficial to Mason County. And what we've learned from our rate study over the past year has been systems that grow are the systems that are healthy, and that are the best means to provide rate stability to customers, is to have that growth, have those ERUs. And so I'm not afraid of the growth. I'm not afraid of the conversation. And obviously one of those things is making sure that we do prioritize Mason County, but also recognize that there might be contributions, or could be contributions, and should be contributions if there are opportunities that arise. So I don't see a downside into continuing a planning conversation.
Well, I definitely need to clarify that, Commissioner. That was never my argument. My argument was that we should not be borrowing money and extending the service with us paying for it on our backs into individuals' properties That was my argument. Never that growth would never happen or building would never occur. That was never my argument. I still think that we should not have expended that money into that system without some type of way of recouping that money back from the private property owners that we put it out into. And again, do we even have the capacity? And are we just going to ignore the fact that if we built a system outside of our county, that we create our own competition for our own tax dollars that can literally hurt the community that we built that to service? We need to have those discussions before we move forward with something like this. This thing has already outlived its time.
So I guess just a couple of quick points. I've never said that you're the one that said that. So I don't know where you're coming from. You feel pretty defensive on that. So never said that was something that you said. I said that was something that I heard quite a bit of. And so if you took that as something that you were saying, that's not what I intended, and that's on you. And so I just think we have this agreement. It hasn't outlived its usefulness. Obviously, we still have a couple more weeks on it. So yeah, I mean, I just don't know why we would walk away from regional planning agreements.
All right, so I'm hearing that we have two that do not see an issue with bringing this forward to a meeting to sign.
Yep, that's what you're hearing, but I want to read this to you, and then at least let's admit what we're doing here. While much work has already been accomplished under 2 commerce grants, additional cooperative work remains both with the city and the county are updating comprehensive planning documents, which they haven't done yet or anything, even after all these. There's a need to develop rates and fees to serve PSIC and the need to review development proposals. This is in conjunction with them utilizing our system and us basically supplying it to them. There's no way around that. So let's at least say what we're doing here. We're looking at servicing Kitsap County with Mason County's system. So with that, when the vote comes, I'll make clear my opinion. But that's not going to change. We definitely should be taking care of ourselves.
Right. I think that that's what we all agree, that we should take care of Mason County first.
Yeah, if there's not agreement on any of these items with other jurisdictions, then nothing happens. And we've extended our sewer system, and we put ARPA money into evaluating further extensions of our sewer system. And so hopefully part of that evaluation is what the capacity requirements are going to be. So I mean, I think we can certainly, have our opinions when it comes time to vote on this, but I think those parameters are worth discussion. If that development is going to happen on the other side of the county line, it's going to happen regardless. And I would rather have outside get something out of that kind of development than nothing, especially if that means subsidizing our local ratepayers with outside money.
All right, so Loretta, you will be bringing this forward.
All right. Thank you, commissioners.
And I think that, if there's language that should be looked at, let's take a look at that as well.
In the agreement itself, Commissioner, or talking about just future conversations about how and when we provide service, if we provide service.
Right.
Under what conditions?
Because I'm pretty sure that we will not approve. Well, I'll talk for myself. If there's no capacity, and if we know that, because I know eventually we want to go underneath the freeway so that we can serve
yes,
for the highway. so that we
Yep.
can see, the other side of the road. So I know that those will all be conversations that will come before us before anything is approved.
And earlier I was smiling. Richard's on vacation today, but I know that if Richard were here, he would be like, first it's famine and now it's feast. We go from a trickle and wanting flow, and now we're at the other end of the spectrum. So apologies for my smiles here, but I'm thinking about Richard, how we go from feast to famine.
Well, and I think those are welcome conversations.
Okay, great. We will.
And Loretta, the very first whereas is stating that we have the ability to service that area. That we have capacity and availability to treat sanitary sewage that may be generated from the currently unserviced area between Belfair and Bremerton, which includes the Puget Sound Industrial Center, Bremerton, Pisac, Bremerton, and etc. And so if we do not have it, that's the very first whereas.
Sure, yeah. And again, it gets back to what we've got. We planned around certain capacities for the remainder of our growth area. We planned cooperatively around what flows and capacity for the southern Pisac area. If we were developing all of that right now, then yes, we would, if development within our Belfair UGA took up capacity, you're right, Commissioner, we would not have the ability to serve Pisac. If, for example, the southern Pisac came forward with a very large development proposing to need a lot of our capacity, then that would take up what remainder capacity we had here. So those are the specifics, and that's what I was alluding to here. We need to be able to talk cooperatively about what's available, what isn't. If we do need to provide additional capacity, what is the cost to do that? Who's paying for it? All those fun things.
All right, Commissioners, anything else?
Okay.
Windom
Windom just sent me a message. Feast or famine and sewage. I don't think he's liking my words here. Come on, Dave.
That's funny. I kind of agree with him on that one.
Yeah. All right. I'll rethink that one. Okay. All right. I guess that's it for requested action items, Commissioners, and just a quickie time check. Sorry, we ran maybe a little bit over. Just wanted to provide you an update on the emergency purchase pursuant to 3904.280, and the Beards Cove pump is installed. All is well in the world. And I did want to make I know that during the exit interview with the auditor today, they noted that there were no exceptions on the special procurement process. And I really want to give a kudos and shout out to Kelly Metcalf, who is always great about reviewing all of the procedures and process and making sure that project managers are on point and following that. And so big thanks to Kelly to keeping abreast of all the latest and greatest. And she's great. Appreciate it.
As do we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said, as do we.
Yes. Yeah. And then on the 21st, Commissioners, will be having our, at lunchtime, our Christmas fiesta. And at the same time, we'll be having an all hands meeting. And we're asking to be able to close the Belfair transfer station that day. We'll open it a different day that is normally closed. So we still have availability for the Belfair community. But in terms of shutting down midday and the travel time back and forth, it's just not very cost effective or efficient for us to be able to do that. So with your approval, we'd like to swap days for our Bell Fair, and of course, give notice to folks.
Sounds good to me, commissioners.
No issue there.
None.
Okay. And then I did have some pictures, but I don't know how you're doing on schedule, but would be happy to give you a quickie photo tour maybe next week if you don't want to spend the day today on the progress on the Bell Fair sewer extension.
Commissioners?
I'll leave that to Mark. I know he's up next, so I don't know what his how much time he's anticipating.
Yeah, ours should be fairly quick.
It might be fun. If you're chomping at the bit, that would be great. Happy to do it, but Richard may be more entertaining in his presentation and get some kudos for the project management as well. So happy to wait until next week also.
So we could wait until the 18th, and that way he could be here. And
yeah, great. Okay.
All right. Are we ready to jump right into support services, Commissioner Trask?
commissioners, anything else for Loretta?
Not for me.
All right, Loretta, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
So we're going to kick it off with Diane.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the Mason Transit Authority, there's 2 members they didn't run for office for 2024, John Campbell and Sandy Tarswell. So we need to send out the letter to all electeds across the county soliciting to see who might be interested. And then we do have Cindy Bremeyer's position, which is up for renewal, and she still is in office and has said she would like to continue to serve. So I'm asking if we can reappoint Cindy, and then we'll send out the letter to solicit applications for the other 2 positions.
And Diane, the other 2 positions, are they for certain areas? Because I know they're board or they're school board members. So are they for?
There aren't any specific areas. Your bylaws for the Transit Authority says 5 members who shall be elected officials selected by the county commissioners with the goal of seeking equal voting representation among the county commission districts.
So with Sandy and John.
Mm-hmm.
Right, they were both what, 2nd and 1st districts?
The Sandy would be Shelton, and I don't know which one John is.
Yes, John was North Mason.
But the bylaws, they don't narrow it down. So we solicit all the electeds, fire districts, school districts, PUD, county. But it's so general, we just send it out to everybody.
Okay.
And then we see what we get.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, and then, so we're good with reappointing Cindy?
Yes.
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 Thank you. And then the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging has position open, so we want to issue a news release so we can get applicants for that.
Sounds good.
Me.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
To place on the action agenda for the 12/19 meeting to approve the defense and indemnification requests for the individuals that were named as defendants in the suit that I provided you with.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All righty. So the next item is our 911 sale and use tax ballot title. So the ballot title was created or is created. All the information has been submitted to our auditor's office, and this is for a February special election. So it authorized the complete, so it'd be increasing 0.1% for a total of 0.2% sales tax for the 911 emergency communications systems and facilities. The pro and con statements have been gathered. They're ready to go. And I believe Marie from the auditor's office stopped by last week and let me know that there's a couple other entities that have expressed interest in running information on that February ballot. So the cost of it would obviously be deferred among everybody that participates.
Like that.
So this is informational for you guys. Happy to try and answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, any questions for Mark about the ballot title or anything else?
Not for me.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. So then the next item I have for you is the naming of Building 10 is the Gary Paul Burleson District Court Building. So this is a plaque that I believe Kelly Frazier sent around some pictures of the plaque that we have out at our Public Works building to give you an example of what that would look like. So if you guys are okay with that, we will place a resolution naming Building 10, the Gary Paul Burleson District Court Building, on the December 19th agenda.
I'm good with that. Yep, you got all three.
Alrighty. And so then the next item I have for you is a contract that I'd like to bring before you on the December 19th agenda for architectural engineering and design for the building, finishing out Building 10. So the cost of this contract is $232,009. And this will include schematic design, design development, and construction drawings, as well as managing the construction contract. So this is kind of the first step that we'll go through in creating those plan specifications that we will then go out for bid for individuals to come in and finish it. And just to remind you, we did have some extra money that we found from ARPA funds that we received that can be used for that. And so we're going to couple that with the real estate excise tax 1 money that we already had budgeted. Total assumed cost right now, and it's very preliminary, so the budget for this is pretty squishy, was estimated to be about $1,875,000. So if you guys are okay with this, I'd like to bring this contract before you on the December 19th agenda.
Sounds good to me.
Me as well.
It'll be so nice to get the building finished.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this one done. So one item that I do not have on the agenda, but I would like to bring before you on the 19th is our contract with Deb Mungia, our lobbyist, ends at the end of the year. And I'd like to extend that into 2024 if the commissioners are comfortable with that same rate.
Yeah, it'd be hard to cut her loose right before session after she worked with us to put together our agenda. So
I agree.
Yep, so true.
So I'll bring that before you on the 19th also then. Jen, did you have something?
I do. I have two things that aren't on the agenda that I just wanted to make the commission aware of. So the first thing is the Port of Allen has received a purchase and sale agreement with the Allen Carey Community Water System. And back when this was briefed earlier this year, we had drafted an amendment because the original ARPA funding was for a new well. And so we drafted the amendment for them to do the water system, but we need them to do their SAM, their system for award management letter or number. We need them to get that first. And so we're still waiting on that before that amendment is approved. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I mean, we could go ahead and approve that amendment and then just wait to pay them, but I mean, it would be better if they could just get that number and then we approve the amendment, I think.
Yeah, I'll just wait for the number then. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and then the other thing, oh, is there any other input that you have, commissioners, on that?
Nope.
Just to add a few points to that, Kate has been working with Leanne Dennis at the port to do that. I realize that the port obviously is probably still reeling from their loss of Larry, which is super sad. And so I think Larry started the process of getting the SAM number registered, and now Leanne's having to pick it up and finish it. And the system isn't super customer friendly. So hopefully she will be able to get a hold of somebody, because it's not allowing her to go in and complete it because there can only be one name on the application. So I know that she's having some challenges with that, but that is a requirement in order to distribute ARPA funds, that they have a SAM number. So I don't know that there's anything we can really do to hold their hand through that, but just wanted the commissioners to be aware that we're working with Leanne to do whatever we can to help her out in getting that SAM number.
That's good.
Great. Thank you. So the other thing was the clerk's office, they may need to move budget from their salaries to operating. They've already moved 15,000 this year, which is allowed by our resolution that we've set up. So I would like to ask to add that to the agenda for the 19th to move maybe up to 15,000. Hopefully they won't need that much, but they do have it available. So I just wanted to run that by you and see what you thought about that.
Sounds good.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
Rather go a little bit over than under on that.
Yeah. All right, that's all that I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all that I have too.
All right. Commissioners, anything for Mark?
Not that I can think of.
All right, so let's move on to commissioner discussion if we need anything.
I don't have any.
All right, well, we do have Building 12 open house on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So excited to see the end result. I hear it's pretty darn cool, especially in their fridge.
I'm really excited for you guys to go see that. Our facilities folks have worked pretty hard and definitely needed space for them, and having the ability to co-locate with the coroner's office is, I think, going to be a great decision for the county as we move forward into the future. Now, she's not dependent on our coroner is no longer dependent on contracting with other folks for storage, because she has her own storage. So,
which is going to save the county money.
Absolutely.
I
think that you'll pay for that cooler in probably about 8 months.
Jamie can now officially say that she's coroner because she has been moved to another building. That's a hallmark.
Apparently it is.
And hopefully that'll be the last hallmark.
We put a big sign up out front, so she has to stay there now.
Well, she's stuck. All right, commissioners, anything else?
Okay.
Move we adjourn.
Okay.
All right, we are adjourned. See everybody later.
Good.